Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic. Why does airplane food taste different?
Many people think the airplane food tastes bad because it's not cooked well. However, there are scientific reasons behind it. The dry air and the low air pressure inside the airplane can weaken our sense of taste and smell. Because the air is very dry, our nose and mouth lose moisture, making food less flavorful. Research shows that our ability to taste sweet and salty flavors can drop by about 30% during flight. This is similar to having a cold when food tastes less delicious because our sense of smell becomes weaker.
Another reason airplane food tastes different is airplane noise. Scientists have found that the constant engine noise during a flight can change how our brain experiences taste. This means that taste is not only affected by our tongue, but also by the environment around us. Research shows that under airplane engine noise, sweet foods taste less sweet than they do on the ground. For example, dessert or sweet drinks may seem less flavorful during a flight. However, umami flavor becomes stronger. Umami is known as the fifth basic taste, together with sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. It is a rich and savory flavor that is commonly found in foods such as soup, mushroom, cheese, meat, and tomatoes. Because umami becomes stronger while sweet flavors become weaker, many savory foods actually taste bitter on airplanes than sweet foods. A good example of its effect is tomato juice. Tomato naturally contains a substance that creates umami flavor. Since airplane noise makes umami flavors stronger, tomato juice tastes richer, smoother, and more flavorful in the air. At the same time, the sweetness and sourness becomes less noticeable. As a result, tomato juice tastes more balanced and enjoyable during a flight than it does on the ground. This is why tomato juice has become one of the most popular drinks served on airplanes. The recipe does not change, but all position of flavor changes because of the flight environment. So airplane noise affects more than just what we hear. It can also influence what we taste, especially foods and drinks that are rich in umami flavor.
Now let's talk about how airlines improve airplane food. Because of the dry air and the low air pressure in airplanes, our senses of taste and smell become weaker. As a result, food may taste less flavor during a flight. To make meals taste better, airlines often use strong flavors and spices. For example, they may add garlic, ginger, cherry, curry, and black pepper. These ingredients have strong taste and aromas, so they can make food more enjoyable. This helps passengers enjoy their food, even at high altitude. Another way airlines improve airplane meals is by using umami-rich ingredients. Umami is a flavor taste that can make food more delicious. Common examples include tomatoes, mushrooms, cheese, and soy sauce. These ingredients help increase flavor naturally without adding too much salt or sugar. Because of this, many airlines using umami-rich foods to create meals that are both tasty and enjoyable for passengers.
Finally, airplane meals are difficult to prepare because most of them are cooked before the flight and reheated later. Reheating can make food dry, soft, and less flavorful. For example, meat may lose moisture, and crispy food can become soggy. Also, reheated meals do not smell as fresh as newly cooked food. To conclude, airplane food tastes different because the airplane environment changes our sense and affects food quality. Next time you fly on airplane, you may notice your food tastes different. And now you know why.
I'm going to share some vocabulary and an interesting question about food on airplanes. Let's start with the vocabulary first. Altitude. How altitude changes our sense of taste. Pressure. Cabin pressure is lower than on the ground. Moisture. Dry air removes moisture from our nose. Flavor. Flavor becomes weaker during flights. Savory. Umami is a savory flavor. Umami. Tomato juice has strong umami flavor. Engine noise. Engine noise can affect taste. Reheat. Airplane meals are reheated before serving. Texture. Reheating changes the texture of food. Crispy. Fried foods lose their crispy texture. Now, let's move on to the question section. Why do people enjoy tomato juice on airplanes? Tomato juice is rich in umami flavor, which is less affected by the high altitude environments. Therefore, on airplanes, it tastes smoother, richer, and less sour than it does on the ground. That's all for our presentation. Thank you for listening.